Welcome back to another video, folks. What I'm going to be doing in this video is painting the 6 pound anti-tank platoon for the Desert Rats mid-war. So let's start by having a look at what's in the box. Right, okay, as usual they have some help in the back for assembly and crew positioning and basing. One of the things about basing on this is, let's see where the base is, it's quite hard using the pre-cut holes, I've not even opened that, to get the crew into a nice triangular position that you need to fit the legs of the guns around. I don't know if there is a base which is more suited than any other to do that, but if you can imagine, try to put crew in there and then putting the trails of the gun across there. So it is a bit tricky, and I've done it with other bases. Sometimes you've got to put figures out of the walls, so it's just a bit more work than you might originally think. So here's the sprues themselves, and with the recent plastics I think I'm quite happy with the detail that you get on these kits. It's a couple of ammunition boxes, various types of barrel too. You've got like what would be the late war version with a muzzle brake, late war version without, and then the one we'll be using, which is mid-war. Quite nicely detailed tyres here and some bolts, some other detail that you're going to be able to pick out. A little bit of flash on that sprue, a little bit on that one, but nothing too serious. So there you go, 4 guns in total, and then a great big bag of crew, which I'm sure everybody looks forward to painting. And these are the flexible plastic as it's described. Just having a look over them. You know, some of the faces in these guys can be a little bit soft. These ones are actually not too bad. Where the face, the centre line of the face passes through the centre line of the casting, they tend to be softer on detail. But these ones are okay. Now there is always a bit of clean up required in these, and it's a case with every figure you're going to have to do some kind of clean up. But the thing to remember with these guys is when you're using your knife to sort of pare down any mould lines, it's got to be a really sharp knife. If it's blunt, it's just going to dig in and sink into the plastic. But I'll stick a link up at the end of this video to how I painted some Desert Rat crewmen. I think these were for 25 pounders, so you can see that process in a bit of detail. I know there's a lot of controversy about these guys, but you know, as long as the figure's well sculpted, well cast, the material doesn't matter too much. Because I've seen plenty of horrible looking metal figures, and I don't think to myself, they're horrible, but it's fine, they're made from metal, so I'm quite happy. So take it as it is, take it for what it is, and these guys, to be honest, look quite fine. And they'll certainly suit my style of painting. So what else have we got? Unit card. It's good to see that we've got all this separate bit of packaging as well, that helps keep everything from getting too knocked about. And one little unit card, it's got your statistics, it's got your points cost for 2, 3 or 4 6 pounders. I think most people will be using a platoon of 4. For anti-tank 9 they'll be really quite useful, especially compared to your average British tank, not the Lend-Lease versions. So there you go. Quite a lot of work to do. I'm going to move on to assembly next. Start working through all these guys. I don't imagine there'll be too many challenges in here, but I'll let you see that. Let you see that process next, and then I'll be moving on to the guns and showing you how I would paint the guns with a degree of modulation and shading without using the airbrush or any washes. It's something that works really quite well on a small bright kit such as this. So I'll see you next when it's time for assembly. So for assembly we're going to be using all the standard kind of tools. We've got our snippers, we've got our blade. It's not overly sharp, I prefer working like this with something which has had a bit of use already. It helps keep my fingers safe if nothing else. And a couple of things about getting the pieces off the sprue. I would always use, using the clipper start on the gun in this midpoint here, and then at the thick end and then the thin end. That reduces the chances of any bending, and I would for instance be looking to hold it, watching what my fingers when I'm doing it, holding it to try and reduce the amount of movement. Same here, I'd want to put my hands like this. If you can see that, sorry. Put my hands like this when I'm cutting that off, because that's quite thin and flexible. Cut here and then cut here, so there's a potential for movement when you're working on the more vulnerable bits. So there's one that's stuck together. I'll just try and bring it up to the camera a bit. Simple, sturdy little kit. So let's see about putting one together. Now, the only thing I would say in terms of order of assembly is that this part of the gun shield, the forward part, should go on before the gun and the other bit of the gun shield are inserted. But I usually start with the wheels. That's a little bit of flash still on that. I'll typically put both, and drop it, put both wheels on at the same time and look to square them up. Of course, with the plastic glue you've got a bit of time as it sets up to get things straight. And I'm trying to hide, even though I've cut it down, I'm trying to hide where I cut it off from the sprue. And then I'll turn it around just to make sure it is straight up and down, as well as on the front. Right, so just set that down. In fact, I'll go straight onto the forward gun shield. This has got some very useful little locator slots on it. So it's quite simple to just line it up and then a quick check. Push it back and there you go. It's the main part of the trail done, so onto the gun and the main gun shield. Now there's a little lip here and here for the gun shield to mount on, because this itself doesn't stick onto the trail in any way. But it's a nice easy fit. And just check it's square. And it's sitting back at the right angle. And then in we go. And I'm just checking, just make sure the barrel's at a correct angle. You don't want it too pointing towards the ground too much, but this is fairly solid because it's fixed into there. But there you go. Quite simple and also very solid looking build. So I'll finish making these and then it's on to the painting where the fun begins. This is the legwork, so to speak. Certainly is for me anyway. And on to the painting next. Okay, I've been doing some painting on the guns. I've left the 3 stages here for you to see. First of all, I put a shade coat on, and this is what I've been using for my British armour. It's Panzerace's German, Highlight German Field Grey 2 339. Next I've put on, at this point it's just several light coats getting applied. And then I put the mid colour on, leaving the shade. Now this has all just been painted by brush. There's places where I have not been able to preserve all of the shade exactly, but that's fine because I'll come back to that. So that's just painted over in nice light coats, been a little bit streaky where I can, and that is Panzerace's Highlight US Tank Crew 322. And then this is the final appearance, so to speak. And the paint's put on, and this process, as you'll see, really quite wet and streaky. The shade has been touched up by brush, just painting it straight in. Incidentally, I would recommend making these without the wheels, painting the wheels separately. It's quite tricky painting round wheels at the best of times. My experience from these guys is, because it's all very tight and close in here, is just paint the wheels separately and then stick them on at the end. There's going to be no great worries about glue marks or anything. But this is what we're going to be heading for. So the first stage is going to be, I'm not going to show you putting up to this stage because that's just painting, sort of blocking in. So what I'm going to do is take this guy and get him up to this stage. So I'm just going to be dropping in and out of the various processes. I'm going to show you the palette here. It's quite important for this stage of the painting. I don't know if I mentioned it, sorry, the highlight colour, which is really one of the main colours at the end of the day, is Model Colour Dark Sand 847. So I've got to get this paint at the right consistency. So I'm just putting in just a bit of water. It's not very much at all. I mean, just tapping it in off the brush. Take some paint, add it in, and to be honest, that there is the kind of consistency that I'm looking for. And that paint should stay workable for some time. So let's see when we're going to start. I'll start with the trails. Catching the edges, a little bit in the main body of the trail, but nothing too strong. Keeping to the more to the top of the sides and leaving the underside in shade. Because it's going on really wet, it's got a semi-opaque finish, as well as a softer edge. Now see, it's getting a bit dry there, so I'm going back to the palette, just going to add a little bit of water back in, and then I'm going to carry on. There'll be points here where I am painting over the deeper areas of shade, but that's okay. I'll come back to that. Right, I'll try and move this around in such a way that I can paint it, but still let you guys see what I'm doing. And then in these larger areas, I want to be highlighting the edges and creating a nice streaky finish. So I'm just going to, feels I just need to add a little bit more water to the paint in the palette. Right, start applying it along here. Now just take some of the paint off the brush there. This is quite tricky to get this on camera. So I'll draw it down and then back up again. And here I want to try and highlight this line of the gun shield. I'm not going to try and achieve the desired effect all in one go. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, the lighting today is not very good. It's a typical Scottish autumn day. Now when I'm putting this paint on, I'm working up towards the top of the barrel. I want the strongest concentration of pigment up on the top. Hopefully you can see it's really quite wet. And on here too. Across the top of that, scrape some of that paint off on my palette and just draw it down. But keep it irregular. And then I want to try and just catch some of this. Not too worried if I remove some of the shade in the process, because I'll come back to that. And then I'm just going to keep reworking and building up various degrees of opacity, so to speak, you know, so it's this highlight colour is going to be stronger in some places, weaker in others, to try and create a nice patina. Oops, there's also behind that forward part of the gun shield. Across the top here, and of course don't forget I've got inside here as well on the breech. I'm not going to work the smaller features too hard because I'll be painting them indirectly. Once I've got an extra bit of shading on. So just back to the start. and repeat. Still looking to keep things nice and soft. Let that paint off the brush. And start adding those streaks and excuse me. So I'll just finish it off to the inside of the gun shield a bit, and then we shall put on a little bit more shade, so I'll come back when we're ready for that. Right, so I'm going back to the shade colour, 339, Panzer Aces 339. I just want to accentuate certain areas, just to show the palette. The paint's just pretty much straight out of the bottle. Just make sure it's thin enough to work, and then I'm literally just going to paint in and around certain features. I'm not applying a wash. And I'm just going to carry this on across the gun. Keeping the lines nice and small and discreet. Brush a bit dry there. And these tiny little features will get directly painted on with the highlight colour. So it takes a bit more attention to detail than applying a wash, but you get a much brighter end result. Lots of work to do around the breech, but keep those lines nice and small and neat. And various little features around the trail. Nice bit of shadow in this feature here really helps bring that out. So I'm just going to finish that, keep working on the shade, and then I'll put the highlight on, and that'll be the penultimate stage for the main body of the gun. So that's all the shading in. It doesn't take long at all. It's just picking out little features. Actually, I thought we'd do the back of the gun shield, so I'll come back and do that. But now going to go back in with the highlight colour again. That's the Dark Sand 847. And I'm just going to pick out certain features. For instance, this here's a nice eye-catching feature, and the shade that we painted around it along this highlight will really make it pop. And then just picking out all these other features, strengthening them. I'm going to try and catch all the edges as well, but I'm going to use an older brush for that. I prefer using an old brush for edge highlighting than one that I would use for the more significant detail. On the front here there's a few significant features, for instance these bolt heads, sight aperture, little tie downs. Lots of little bits and pieces, these little hooks, little hinges. And all this detail can really pop by giving it a bit of direct shading and then direct highlight. So I'm just going to keep working on that. Got lots of stuff to do around the breech. And then I'll apply an edge highlight. And then it'll be a little bit of chipping. So I'll come back when I'm ready for the edge highlight. So I've finished working around all those features and I'm going to take the same highlight colour I've been using and a brush which has still basically got it together but isn't good for detail. And I'm just going to catch all these edges just to toughen them up a bit. Gives them a nice solid edge to help catch the eye. Just consider how you're approaching the figure as well to best catch the edge. I'm going to try and just get a bit, going a bit deeper in the shade there, but it's very easy to fix that. And then along the trails, especially in this edge in here. Oops, another little mistake there guys, but the good thing about this is I can put a little bit of shade back in there and everything's fine. So I'll just do a couple of touch-ups there and then it is the chipping, the weathering. So these are in the desert, very light vehicles, chips would stand out quite strongly, and just the nature of being in that sandy environment you're going to get some chipping. So I'm going to use German grey watercolour, believe it or not that says German grey. I think that's 995, but it's German grey. It's a nice dark kind of metallic kind of colour. I'm just going to put a little bit out onto the palette there. It doesn't need a lot at all. And I'm using a very lumpy old beat up brush. You see it's like sticking together in little clumps and got bits of paint on it, so it's a nice irregular surface. I'm going to be taking most of the paint off here. Now for this stage it's important to remember you're not dry brushing, you're dabbing. Because you want to create chips on the surface. You're not wanting to catch the entire edge. You can put more, for instance, with the trails, dig in. Don't forget the bottom edges. And go a tiny bit in the bottom edges, so a wee dry brush there isn't going to hurt. Now we want to catch this angle, but once again I'm dabbing at it. I'm not trying to paint a grey line down the entire angle. Just bounce it along the top of the barrel, nothing more than that. Try and fill this in a wee bit just to break up the internal areas. Got a bit heavier on the bottom there where it's closer to the ground. Bit on the internal features. A little bit around the block. And that's it. You don't want to go mad. You don't want the thing to look as though there's no paint left on it basically. It's just a little bit of chipping. And that's all. So it just remains really to paint and weather the tyres. I've left them, the hubs of the wheels quite dark because I'm going to put a sand wash over them. These tyres are very chunky. If they were thin, slimline like the Pack 38 ones I did recently, I didn't bother putting a sand wash over them, but I'm going to do that with these guys because they're quite chunky and noticeable. But once that's done, that will be the guns more or less finished. So I'll just have this one here to take through the various processes to get it up to there. So I'll come back, and I think unless there's anything I've missed, I'll really just be reviewing how the finished guns look before I then show you the crew and everything together on the bases. I'm just going to give a quick peek at the work in progress at this point. The important thing being that I've had to fill in all the holes on the bases because particularly with the narrow setting of the trails on these 6-pounders, you can't get the guys in the holes and the gun on the base as well. Bit of a daft design, I think. They should do it like that. So I'm going to be filling in around these guys with filler and then putting my sand texture on top of that. So I'll come back when that's done. Oh, and incidentally, I'm also working on some Pack 38s for the Africa Corps. These are, you can get most of these guys into the holes with a bit of work because of the wider trails, but I've decided I'm just going to do the same with these guys. So I'll be back when I'm ready to finish off the basing. Right, so I've progressed the base, finished off the gun, and you can see the tyres are painted, and I put a sand wash over them. They're quite substantial, these tyres, so they needed a bit of weathering down other than just leaving some shade on them. And then we have the gun crew. Now I've painted these in the same way as I've done my other 8th Army figures. I'll put a link on the end of this video that shows you how I paint one start to finish, each brush stroke until the thing's done. Because of the way the holes were on these bases, I did have to fill them in and then sit the figures up on the surface, put some filler on it, and then I put my sand material over the top, which is actually, as I've demonstrated before, it's actually snow. I don't know if this stuff's still available. It's the Army Painter Snow, but it's solid little pellets and it works brilliant. With a coat of paint, I used Vallejo Dark Sand as a basic coat, and then applied a wash with this Humbrol Sand wash. This is an enamel wash. It takes a few days to dry. It gets really quite sticky over that period, so you don't want to be applying any varnish over it until it's nice and dry. And you'll find that when you're painting this kind of material, the capillary action just draws it out, so put it on nice and thin. Your acrylics are thin. This stuff's thin naturally anyway, and just let it work around the figure. So then now ready for some matte varnish. Oops. And once that's done, I'll be able to do a little bit of work on some ground cover, not much. I put one ammo case on here. It's a very crowded base. I've decided to put just the one on it. But there you go. So very, very close to getting finished now. So here are the finished bases, all ready to go into action. Hopefully the depth on these panels is coming through okay. And you can see the wear and tear. Nothing extreme, but it's enough to catch the eye. And plenty of action going on around with the crew as well. So there you go, folks. Very attractive guns. I do like them. Very easy kits to put together. The crew, well, this new plastic material, you're either going to love it or hate it. Personally, I find them very easy to paint. I wish the faces could be better, but you know, I've said that about so many metal figures, so I'm probably looking for too much. And I think you can see it's possible to make a really attractive unit. And an effective unit as well in mid-war with Anti-Tank 9. So I really enjoyed putting these guys together and painting them, and I hope you enjoyed watching the process. If you did, please like and subscribe, because I do hope to do more of these again in the future, as well as my usual review of completed units. So please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for what I hope will be more videos shortly.